The massive chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with quiet conversation as hundreds of alien representatives took their seats. The dome-shaped room stretched high above them, its walls made of crystal that showed the stars beyond. Today was an important day. They were about to hear the final report about a species that had gone silent 3 years ago. Ambassador Veltar of the Xentari Empire walked to the center platform. His blue skin gleamed under the bright lights, and his 4 arms moved gracefully as he prepared his presentation. The Xentari were known throughout the galaxy for their careful research and honest reports. When they said something, other species listened. Fellow council members, Veltar began, his voice carrying easily through the chamber. I stand before you today to deliver our final findings on species classification 7834H, the humans of the Sol system. A large holographic display appeared above the platform. It showed images of Earth from space. The planet looked peaceful from far away, but the closer views told a different story. Cities sat empty and dark. Plants had grown over roads and buildings. No lights shone in the darkness where millions of humans once lived. For 3 standard years, our deep space teams have scanned every planet, moon, and space station in the Sol system, Veltar continued. We used the most advanced detection equipment available. We looked for any sign of human life. More images appeared in the hologram. Mars colonies sat abandoned, their domes cracked and empty. The lunar bases were dark and silent. Space stations drifted without power, slowly falling toward the planets they once orbited. Our findings are clear and final, the ambassador said, his voice heavy with sadness. The human species has joined the ranks of the extinct. We found no living humans anywhere in their territory. No active technology, no communications, no response to our signals. An old alien with gray skin and 6 eyes spoke up from the front row. This was Counselor Yith of the Peaceful Alliance. What caused their extinction? War, disease, natural disaster? Veltar's 4 shoulders moved in what humans might have recognized as a shrug. We cannot say for certain. The evidence suggests multiple causes. We found signs of nuclear weapons used on their home planet. Climate change damaged their environment. There may have been diseases as well. It appears they faced many problems at once. The hologram changed to show charts and graphs. Numbers scrolled past showing population estimates, energy readings, and biological scans. Every measurement pointed to the same conclusion. Earth was dead. This is always a sad day, said Chief Archivist Zethrak. The crystal being's body flashed, different colors as it spoke, each color representing different emotions. Red for sadness, blue for respect, white for acceptance. Another intelligent species has been lost forever. The council observed a moment of silence. This was tradition when a species died out. Representatives from 47 different worlds sat quietly, thinking about the humans they would never meet. Some had traded with human merchants. Others had fought against human soldiers. A few had called humans friends. The humans were a young species, Veltar said when the silence ended. Only recently had they learned to travel between stars. They showed promise in many areas. Their technology was basic but creative. Their art was emotional and powerful. They had a strong sense of curiosity about the universe. The Vrak delegate stood up. The insect-like creature's wings buzzed as it spoke. What happens to human territory now? They controlled several valuable star systems. This question caused murmurs throughout the chamber. When a species died out, their planets and resources became available for others to claim. It was not pleasant to discuss, but it was necessary for galactic order. That will be decided in future sessions, Zethrak replied. For now, we mark their space as a memorial zone. No one may enter human territory for 1 full year. This gives the galaxy time to honor their memory properly. As the formal session continued, few noticed the small probe hidden among the asteroid belt of a nearby system. The probe was damaged and old, but it still worked well enough to record the council meeting and send the signal toward Earth. Deep, beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a place the Xentari scanners had never thought to look, Lieutenant Commander Kate Sullivan watched the transmission on her screen. She sat in the command center of Refuge Station Alpha, one of 47 underwater cities where humans had survived the chaos above. Kate had short brown hair and tired green eyes. She wore the dark blue uniform of the Earth Defense Force, though there was no longer much of an Earth to defend. Around her, other officers worked at computer stations, monitoring the oceans and watching for any threats from above. "So that's it then," said Chief Engineer Ryan Martinez, looking over Kate's shoulder at the screen. "We're officially extinct." Kate took a sip of her coffee and smiled grimly. "Well, that should make things easier. Hard to hunt something that doesn't exist." The truth was more complex than the aliens knew. When everything had fallen apart on the surface, some humans had been ready. Military bases had been built underwater. Scientists had created sealed cities on the ocean floor. Mining crews had hollowed out homes inside asteroids. Not many humans had survived, but those who did had been smart about staying hidden. "How many people are watching this?" Kate asked. "The transmission is going to all 47 refugee stations," Martinez replied, "plus the asteroid colonies and the deep space platforms. I'd say about 2 million humans just learned they don't exist anymore." Kate nodded. 2 million people. That was all that remained of a species that had once numbered in the billions. But 2 million was enough to rebuild, enough to survive, and maybe someday enough to surprise a galaxy that thought humans were nothing but history. "Send a message to all station commanders," Kate ordered. "Tell them the good news. The aliens think we're dead. That means we can work without anyone bothering us." As the Galactic Council meeting ended and the alien ships departed, Kate continued watching her screens. She monitored ocean currents, tracked surface radiation levels, and studied the stars above. Someday, humans would return to space. But for now, being extinct had its advantages. The galaxy had written off humanity as another failed species. They had no idea that beneath the waves and in the darkness between stars, humans were learning, growing, and preparing for their return. 6 months had passed since the galaxy declared humans extinct. Kate Sullivan had been promoted to captain, and now commanded the Aurora, humanity's first ship designed to travel beyond the solar system since the collapse. The ship was small, but advanced, built with technology that combined old human engineering with new discoveries made during their years of hiding. Kate stood on the bridge, looking at the star map displayed on the main screen. Her crew of 12 had trained for this mission for 2 years. They were about to make the first human contact with aliens since the world had ended, but this time they would do it right. "Captain," said Lieutenant Sam Baker from the communications station. "I'm picking up multiple alien signals from the Kepler system. Looks like a major trading hub. Kepler Station was a neutral meeting place where different alien species came to trade goods and information. It was the perfect place to observe galactic politics without being noticed. At least that had been the plan. Take us there, but keep our distance," Kate ordered. "I want to see what's happening out there before we make any decisions." The Aurora's new jump drive activated with a soft hum. The ship slipped through space faster than light, crossing distances that would have taken the old human ships weeks to travel. When they emerged near Kepler Station, Kate was amazed by what she saw. Hundreds of ships filled the space around the massive station. Xentari cruisers with their elegant curves floated alongside the geometric Thraxian vessels. Vrak, swarm ships, moved in precise formations while crystal ships of the Zeth Collective drifted silently through the traffic. "My God," whispered Dr. Lisa Hayes from her science station. "I've never seen so many different species in one place." Kate nodded. During humanity's isolation, the galaxy had continued to grow and change. New alliances had formed, trade routes had expanded. And as she was about to learn, old territories were being divided up. "Captain," Baker said urgently, "I'm intercepting a transmission from that Xentari diplomatic ship. They're discussing territorial redistribution in the Sol system." Kate's blood went cold. "Put it on speakers." The bridge filled with the sound of alien voices speaking in Universal Standard. The translation was perfect, thanks to the language programs they had developed during their hiding years. "The Vrak Consortium has filed a formal claim for Luna mining rights," one voice said. They argue that extinct species have no territorial protections under galactic law, another voice responded. The Thraxian Republic is also interested in the Mars terraforming stations. Abandoned technology could be very valuable. Kate felt her hands clench into fists. Luna was more than just Earth's moon. It was where millions of humans were buried, including her own parents who had died in the early days of the collapse. The idea of alien corporations strip mining their graves made her sick with anger. "What about Earth itself?" asked a third voice. "Too damaged for immediate use," came the reply. "But the orbital platforms could be salvaged. Perhaps in a few years, when the radiation settles, we could establish research stations." Kate had heard enough. These aliens were talking about her, home, her people's final resting places, as if they were nothing but resources to be harvested. The diplomatic approach she had planned suddenly seemed inadequate. "Dr. Hayes," she said quietly, "how are our language programs working?" Lisa looked up from her console with surprise. "Perfectly, Captain. We can communicate in any major galactic language. The isolation gave us time to study every transmission we intercepted over the years." Kate nodded. During humanity's hiding years, they had done more than just survive. They had listened, they had learned, and most importantly, they had prepared for this moment. "Baker, are you familiar with Xentari diplomatic protocols?" The young communications officer smiled. "I wrote my academy thesis on them, Captain. I know their formal greeting structures, their military chains of command, and their cultural taboos." "Good." Kate moved to the center of the bridge and straightened her uniform. "Open a channel to that Xentari diplomatic vessel. Full diplomatic protocols." Her crew looked at her with concern. First contact was supposed to be handled carefully, with weeks of preparation and oversight from the hidden Earth government. But Kate had made her decision. "Captain?" Dr. Hayes said softly. "Are you sure about this? The Council specifically told us to observe only." Kate looked around at her crew. These were good people who had trained their entire lives for this moment. They trusted her judgment, and she would not let them down. "The Council told us to assess the situation," she replied. "Well, I've assessed it. These aliens are planning to desecrate our graveyards and strip mine our home system. That changes everything." She turned back to the main screen, where the elegant lines of the Xentari diplomatic ship filled the view. Somewhere on that vessel, alien diplomats were making decisions about humanity's future without knowing humans still existed. "Baker, transmit on all Xentari diplomatic frequencies. Full formal protocols." The communications officer's hands moved over his controls. "Channel open, Captain." Kate took a deep breath. What she was about to do would change everything. There would be no going back to the safety of hiding beneath the oceans. But some things were more important than safety. "Attention, Xentari diplomatic vessel," she said, speaking in perfect high Xentari, the formal language used only for the most important communications. "This is Captain Kate Sullivan of the Earth vessel Aurora. I believe you have some serious misconceptions about my species that require immediate correction." The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Kate had just announced to the galaxy that humanity was not extinct. The consequences would be enormous, but she was ready to face them. "Captain," Baker whispered, monitoring the response frequencies. "They're not answering. I think we broke their communication system." Kate smiled grimly. "Give them a minute, Lieutenant. I imagine they're having some very intense discussions right now." Indeed, she was right. On the Xentari ship, alarms were sounding and officers were shouting in confusion. The impossible had just happened. A human had spoken to them in their own language, using protocols that suggested extensive knowledge of their culture and government. Kate waited patiently for their response, knowing that her next words would determine humanity's future relationship with the galaxy. Captain Thelvon of the Xentari cruiser Dominion's Edge stared at his main screen in complete shock. The bridge around him had erupted into controlled chaos as his officers tried to process what they were seeing. According to every record in their database, the being on their screen was impossible. "Captain," his tactical officer called out, her forearms moving rapidly over her controls. The vessel's configuration doesn't match any known design. It's small, but the energy readings suggest very advanced technology. Life sign analysis complete, added the science officer. I'm detecting multiple organic beings aboard their ship. The biological patterns match archived human genetic markers, but that's impossible. Humans are extinct. Thelvon's blue skin had gone pale with shock. He had personally reviewed the extinction reports for humanity 3 years ago. He had signed the official documents. There was no doubt in any Xentari mind that humans were gone forever. Yet here one stood, looking directly at him through the communication screen. Kate Sullivan appeared calm and professional as she waited for their response. Her brown hair was neatly arranged and her dark blue uniform looked crisp and official. But what impressed Thelvon most was her eyes. They held an intelligence and determination that reminded him of the most skilled Xentari diplomats. "This is impossible," he whispered to his first officer. "We scanned their entire system. Every planet, every moon, every asteroid. There were no life signs." His communications officer looked up from her station with wonder. "Captain," she spoke in perfect high Xentari. Not just the words, but the formal structure, the proper diplomatic phrasing. It would take years of study to master our language like that. On the screen, Kate continued to wait patiently. Finally, Thelvon gathered his composure and activated the communication system. "This is Captain Thelvon of the Xentari Imperial Navy," he said, speaking in Universal Standard. "Please identify yourself and explain how you came to be here." Kate smiled slightly. "I already introduced myself, Captain. Kate Sullivan of the Earth vessel Aurora. As for how I came to be here, well, I flew. Humans never lost the ability to travel through space." Dr. Hayes stepped into view beside Kate, carrying a medical scanner in her hands. "Captain, I'm reading elevated stress indicators from their crew. Heart rates are elevated, and I'm detecting increased brain activity consistent." With extreme surprise, Kate nodded to her science officer. "That's understandable, Doctor. I imagine learning that a supposedly extinct species is still alive would be quite shocking." Thelvon felt his secondary heart skip a beat. The casual way these humans discussed his crew's physical condition suggested sensors far more advanced than anything in the official reports about human technology. "Your extinction was confirmed by multiple independent surveys," he said carefully. "The Galactic Council has official documentation. Your homeworld showed no signs of intelligent life, Captain." "Thelvon," Kate replied, still speaking in flawless Xentari, "did your surveys check beneath the ocean surfaces? Humans are quite good at adapting to underwater environments when necessary." The bridge fell silent. Thelvon realized with growing horror that their scans had focused on land masses and orbital facilities. The deep oceans of Earth had been dismissed as uninhabitable by advanced life forms. Kate continued speaking, switching effortlessly between Xentari and Universal Standard. "We've been monitoring galactic communications for several years now. We know about the territorial redistribution discussions. We know about the mining claims being filed for Luna. We know that several governments are treating our star system as abandoned property." Lieutenant Baker appeared on screen next to Kate. "Captain, should I mention the other colonies?" "Other colonies?" Thelvon asked weakly. Kate's expression became more serious. "Captain, humanity's survival was not limited to Earth. We have populations in asteroid habitats, deep space platforms, and underwater cities throughout the Sol system. Your surveys missed us because we didn't want to be found." The tactical implications hit Thelvon immediately. If humans had been hiding successfully for years while developing advanced technology, they represented an unknown factor in galactic security. A species that could disappear completely from the most advanced sensors in the galaxy could appear anywhere at any time. "How many of you survived?" he asked. Kate exchanged a look with her officers before answering. "Enough, Captain. More than enough to ensure our species' continued existence, and more than enough to protect our territorial rights." Dr. Hayes activated a holographic display that showed population estimates and technological capabilities. The numbers made Thelvon's head spin. According to their data, humans had not merely survived their supposed extinction, They had used the time to rebuild, advance, and prepare for their return to galactic affairs. We estimate our current population at just over 2 million, Kate said, distributed across 47 underwater cities, 12 asteroid habitats, 6 deep space installations, and various smaller outposts. The science officer on Thelvon's bridge looked up from his console with amazement. Captain, if these numbers are accurate, humans have achieved population sustainability despite losing over 90% of their original numbers. The biological and technological requirements for such recovery are extraordinary. Kate heard the comment and smiled. We learned from our mistakes, officer. The crisis that nearly destroyed us also taught us how to survive in environments that other species might consider impossible. Thelvon's mind raced through the diplomatic implications. If humanity had survived secretly while the galaxy divided up their territory, there would be enormous legal and political consequences. Treaties would need to be rewritten, mining rights would be disputed, and most importantly, a species that had proven capable of hiding from the entire galaxy was not one to underestimate. Captain Sullivan, he said formally, I believe we need to arrange immediate diplomatic contact with the Galactic Council. This situation requires the highest levels of attention. Kate's smile became warmer. I agree completely, Captain Thelvon. In fact, we've already prepared comprehensive documentation of our continued existence and our territorial claims. We're ready to resume our place in galactic affairs. She paused, looking directly at him through the screen. But this time, we're doing things differently. We've had years to learn from our previous mistakes, and we've become very good at communicating in languages that others understand. As if to prove her point, Kate switched to speaking in Thraxian harmonic tones, then Vrak clicking patterns, then the mathematical language of the Zeth Collective. Each transition was flawless, showing a mastery of alien languages that would have taken most species decades to achieve. Thelvon realized he was witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. A species had returned from extinction with capabilities that exceeded their previous achievements. The humans were back, and they were more formidable than ever. The neutral meeting room aboard Kepler Station had seen many historic negotiations, but never one quite like this. The chamber's white walls and simple furniture created a calm atmosphere that helped different species focus on diplomacy rather than their physical differences. Today, those differences seemed more important than ever. Captain Thelvon sat across the polished metal table from Kate Sullivan, still struggling to accept that humans were not extinct. Beside Kate sat Dr. Hayes and a quiet woman who had been introduced as Dr. Susan Clark, a xenolinguist whose presence made the room's advanced translation system seem unnecessary. Your linguistic abilities are remarkable, Thelvon admitted as they began their discussions. We studied human archaeological records extensively. Nothing suggested such adaptability with alien languages. Kate exchanged a meaningful look with her team. Captain, what exactly did your archaeological surveys find on Earth? Thelvon activated a small holographic projector, showing images of abandoned human cities. Empty settlements, overgrown infrastructure, no active technology, standard ecological collapse patterns following what appeared to be nuclear exchange, and severe environmental damage. Dr. Clark leaned forward, speaking in perfect Xentari with the formal diplomatic accent reserved for high-ranking officials. And did your surveys investigate beneath the ocean surfaces? Or examine the extensive underground tunnel networks that humans are known for creating? The Xentari captain's blue skin paled slightly. Our scans were focused on surface installations and orbital facilities. Deep ocean trenches were considered uninhabitable for advanced civilizations. Kate smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Captain, humanity survived ice ages that lasted thousands of years. We lived through supervolcanic eruptions that blocked out the sun. We adapted to asteroid impacts that killed most life on our planet. Did your people really believe that surface radiation and climate change would finish us permanently? Before Thelvon could respond, the room's communication system activated with an incoming priority message. The screen revealed another human, this one wearing a different uniform with commander's insignia. Captain Sullivan, this is Commander Jack Turner from Atlantic Deep Station. We've just received contact attempts from Thraxian vessels near Mars. Word about our existence is spreading through their communication networks. Thelvon stared at the screen in growing amazement. How many settlements do you have? Kate's expression became carefully neutral. Enough to ensure our species' survival, Captain. More than enough to protect our interest in this galaxy. Dr. Hayes activated her own holographic display, showing detailed charts and statistics. Current human population stands at approximately 2 million individuals. We're distributed across 47 major underwater cities, 12 asteroid, mining and manufacturing facilities, 6 deep space research platforms, and 23 smaller outposts throughout the Sol system. The numbers made Thelvon's head spin. This wasn't just a small group of survivors hiding in caves. This was an organized civilization that had rebuilt itself while remaining completely hidden from galactic observation. Your deep space platforms, he said slowly. How long have they been operational? Commander Turner answered from the screen. The oldest ones have been running for about 15 years. We've been quietly mining asteroids, conducting research, and developing new technologies, while everyone assumed we were gone. Kate stood and walked to the room's large window, which showed the busy traffic around Kepler Station. Ships from dozens of species moved through the trade routes, carrying goods and passengers between the stars. We've been watching all of this, she said quietly. Learning about new alliances, studying technological developments, monitoring political changes. We know which species have grown more powerful since our supposed extinction. We know which ones have grown weaker. She turned, back to face Thelvon. We also know which ones immediately started making plans to carve up our territory the moment they thought we were gone. The accusation hung in the air like a physical presence. Thelvon shifted uncomfortably in his seat, knowing that his own government had been among those discussing territorial redistribution in the Sol system. Dr. Clark activated another display, this one showing intercepted communications and legal documents. The Vrak Consortium has filed mining claims for Luna. The Thraxian Republic wants to salvage our Mars facilities. Even the peaceful Zeth Collective has expressed interest in studying our abandoned orbital platforms. These claims were made in accordance with galactic law, Thelvon said defensively. Extinct species have no legal standing for territorial protection. But we're not extinct, Kate replied calmly. We never were, which means all of those claims are illegal attempts to seize the sovereign territory of an existing species. The legal implications crashed down on Thelvon like a collapsing building. If humans had never actually been extinct, then every treaty, mining right, and territorial agreement made in the past 3 years would need to be reviewed. The political and economic consequences would be enormous. There's something else you should know, Kate continued. We haven't just been hiding and surviving, we've been learning and growing. The crisis that nearly destroyed us taught us valuable lessons about cooperation, resource management, and sustainable development. She sat back down at the table, looking directly at Thelvon. We've also learned a great deal about galactic politics and interspecies relations. We know which approaches work and which ones lead to conflict. Commander Turner spoke again from the communication screen. Captain, Admiral Foster wants to know if you're ready for the next phase of the revelation. Kate nodded. Send her in. Commander. The meeting room's door opened to admit a tall woman with gray hair and the insignia of a high-ranking military officer. Admiral Linda Foster moved with the confident bearing of someone who had commanded troops in difficult situations. Captain Thelvon, Kate said formally, may I present Admiral Foster, commander of the reformed Earth Defense Force. Thelvon's secondary heart nearly stopped. Earth had a military force, not just survivors hiding in underwater cities, but an organized defense network capable of protecting human interests throughout their territory. Admiral, Kate continued, please brief the captain on our current defensive capabilities. Foster activated her own holographic display, showing ship movements and patrol routes throughout the Sol system. We currently maintain a fleet of 37 vessels ranging from small scouts like the Aurora to heavy cruisers capable of system defense. All ships are equipped with advanced stealth technology and weapon systems developed during our reconstruction period. The display showed patrol patterns that covered every major asteroid belt, all planetary orbits, and the outer system boundaries. It was a comprehensive defense network that had been operating invisibly for years. We've been very careful to avoid any actions that might reveal our existence, Foster continued. But we've been watching everything that happens in our space. Every ship that enters Sol system, every probe that's sent to scan our planets, every mining survey that's conducted near our facilities. Thelvon realized he was looking at intelligence capabilities that rivaled the best spy networks in the galaxy. Humans had not just survived their extinction, they had used their supposed death to become the ultimate observers of galactic affairs. Kate stood again, this time with a different expression on her face. The diplomatic mask had dropped slightly, revealing the steel underneath. Captain Thelvon, humanity is ready to return to galactic civilization. But we're doing it on our terms this time. We've learned from our mistakes and we're not going to repeat them. 3 days after the meeting at Kepler Station, the Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from every major power had gathered for an emergency session that would reshape their understanding of galactic politics. The crystal dome overhead showed the stars, but today those distant suns seemed less important than the drama unfolding below. Chief Archivist Zethrak's crystalline form shifted through several color spectrums as it processed the unprecedented situation. The legal implications are staggering, it transmitted to the assembly. Do we recognize territorial claims from before the supposed extinction? What about resources already allocated from the Sol system? How do we handle contracts signed under false assumptions? Kate Sullivan entered the chamber flanked by a full diplomatic delegation. Commander Turner walked beside her, along with Dr. Clark and several other humans the galaxy was meeting for the first time. But it was the woman who entered last that caused the most stir among the assembled representatives. Admiral Linda Foster wore the crisp uniform of the Reformed Earth Defense Force, her insignia clearly marking her as a high-ranking military commander. The implication was clear. Humanity had not just survived their extinction. They had organized, rebuilt, and prepared for their return with military precision. Honorable delegates, Kate began, speaking in flawless universal standard that, nonetheless, carried an unmistakably human accent. Humanity appreciates your concerns about legal precedents and territorial rights. However, we have more immediate matters to discuss. She activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. The images showed shipping routes, military positions, and resource extraction operations throughout what had been considered abandoned human space. The detail was remarkable, suggesting surveillance capabilities that had been operating undetected for years. While you believed us extinct, several powers took liberties with our territories, Kate continued, calmly. Some of these actions we can understand as honest mistakes based on incomplete information. The display zoomed in on Luna, showing Vrak mining operations already in progress. Massive drilling platforms had been established on the moon's surface, their mechanical arms tearing into the lunar soil. Others require immediate cessation and full reparations. The Vrak delegate, a towering insectoid named Click-Wur 7th, rose to his full 3-meter height. His compound eyes glittered as he spoke in rapid clicking sounds that the translation system converted to universal standard. The consortium followed all established galactic protocols. Extinct species have no legal standing for territorial protection. Admiral Foster stepped forward, her voice carrying the weight of military authority earned through decades of command. Luna contains the burial sites of 47 million humans who died during the crisis that nearly destroyed us. Those graves are sacred to our people. She paused, looking directly at the Vrak delegate. I suggest the consortium consider how they would respond if aliens began strip mining their ancestral burial grounds for profit. The chamber fell completely silent. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The moral implications of desecrating burial sites went beyond legal technicalities into fundamental questions of decency and respect. Kate resumed her presentation. Humanity returns to galactic affairs with a new perspective. We've had time to analyze our previous mistakes, both the ones that nearly destroyed our civilization and the ones we made in interspecies relations. A new section of the holographic display activated, showing detailed proposals and policy frameworks. We propose a new paradigm for cooperation based on mutual respect, clear communication, and shared benefits rather than zero-sum competition. Ambassador Veltar, the same Xentari who had originally declared humanity extinct, spoke up hesitantly. What assurances does the galaxy have that humanity won't repeat the aggressive expansionism that characterized your previous interstellar presence? Kate's expression softened slightly, showing the first hint of genuine humor she had displayed during the session. Ambassador, we spent 30 years living quietly at the bottom of our oceans, while your ships flew right overhead without detecting us. We've clearly learned the value of patience and careful observation. She gestured to the busy chamber around them, filled with representatives who were still adjusting to the reality of humanity's return. We've also learned that sometimes the best strategy for survival is to let others assume you're not there, at least until someone tries to desecrate your graveyards. Counselor Yith of the Peaceful Alliance leaned forward with interest. What specific changes are you proposing to the current galactic order? Dr. Hayes stepped forward with a datapad containing detailed policy proposals. We've prepared comprehensive frameworks for territorial restoration, resource-sharing agreements, and cultural exchange programs. Humanity is ready to rejoin galactic civilization, but this time as equal partners rather than junior members hoping for acceptance. The proposals were extensive and well-researched. They addressed everything from trade regulations to military cooperation protocols. Most importantly, they demonstrated that humans had used their years of isolation to study galactic politics with the thoroughness of professional diplomats. Commander Turner activated another section of the display, showing technological innovations developed during humanity's hidden years. We're also prepared to share advances we've made in underwater construction, stealth technology, and sustainable resource management. These could benefit many species throughout the galaxy. The technology demonstrations were impressive. Humans had not just survived their near extinction. They had used the experience to develop solutions for problems that plagued other civilizations. Water purification systems, efficient food production, advanced recycling methods, and energy conservation techniques that could revolutionize how other species manage their resources. We're particularly interested in sharing our underwater city designs with species facing rising sea levels, Kate added. And our asteroid mining techniques could help reduce the environmental impact of resource extraction on inhabited worlds. The offer was generous and strategically brilliant. Rather than returning to galactic affairs as supplicants seeking readmission, humans were positioning themselves as valuable partners with unique capabilities to offer. The Thraxian delegate, a tall being with flowing robes and melodic voice tones, spoke for the first time. Your proposals show remarkable foresight. But how do we know you can deliver on these promises? Your population is small compared to the major galactic powers. Admiral Foster smiled, activating one final display that showed the true scope of human reconstruction. Our population may be small, but it's highly educated, technologically advanced, and motivated by recent experience with near extinction. Every human alive today survived the greatest crisis our species has ever faced. She paused, looking around the chamber. We've learned that cooperation and innovation matter more than raw numbers. 2 million humans working together efficiently can accomplish more than 2 billion working against each other. Kate stepped forward to conclude their presentation. The galaxy declared humanity extinct 3 years ago. Today, we stand before you very much alive and ready to contribute to galactic civilization. We've learned from our mistakes, developed new capabilities, and gained perspective that can only come from surviving the unthinkable. She looked directly at each major delegation as she spoke. We propose a future based on partnership rather than dominance, cooperation rather than competition, and respect rather than exploitation. We believe this approach can benefit all species, not just humanity. The chamber erupted in discussion as delegates began processing the implications of humanity's return. Some were concerned about the legal complications. Others were excited by the technological possibilities. All of them recognized that the galaxy had changed forever. As the session continued late into the station's artificial night, one thing became clear. The galaxy would never again make the mistake of assuming humanity was gone. The species that had survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, and their own near extinction had returned with wisdom earned through unimaginable hardship, and they spoke the languages of their neighbors with perfect fluency, having learned that communication was the key to building a better future for everyone.